If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey y'all, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. It is me, your host, Lydia T. Blanco, and like always, I am so excited that you decided to join me on this tour. Look, if I don't sound as excited as I typically do, no, it is because I am on the West Coast in Las Vegas. I just wrapped up a full work week, including travel and 3 days of nonstop programming at an event by my company, and know that I am excited. I am super excited. Look, if this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much for taking the time to show up for yourself and take center stage. And you already know, if you have tuned in regularly for the last 9 months since we first started the Get My Life tour, thank you so much for being consistent in your pursuit, not only for getting your life, but for just showing up for yourself. Okay, so as I mentioned, I am here in Las Vegas right now recording the stop of the tour. So by the time you hear this, I most likely will be in New York. But I thought it was so important to record while here in Vegas because I've had a very transient-like experience. So today on the stop of the tour, I really want to talk about passing through and ways to do that effectively, but also ways to enjoy those moments. Sounds a little nuanced, right? And I think it's because it actually is. Passing through feels almost to me like an experience that I read about, in The Alchemist. And I feel like I've had a very similar experience. Now I know The Alchemist, written by Paulo Coelho, is, fictionary, but there's so much, in that book that resonates with so many people around the world. In my experience personally, not only professionally, because of all of the places that I've been, right? So I'm typically on the East Coast or the West Coast, mainly in the Bay Area or in New York. If not, I'll be like somewhere in the Northeast or North South. I don't know what to consider North Carolina, but I have spent the last 5 days, or let's say 4 days, traveling, connecting with people, smiling, shaking hands, hugging, even though I wasn't supposed to because, everyone's on edge about coronavirus, but really making it my business to handle my business, be on my P's and Q's, as well as connect with people. But in the midst of all of that, I felt like I've been passing through. And not only within the last 4 days, right, but for a very long time. And I had to sit down and think about the ways that I've been passing through and what that looks like, what that feels like, what that means for me as I'm on my journey. So as someone who is in love with language and words and definitions, I actually Googled the meaning of passing through. And passing through means to go to a place for only a short period of time before continuing a journey. I know that's nothing revelatory, but being able to define my experience is extremely helpful. And it is something that allows me to put a lot of my experiences into perspective, because as I pass through, I often feel like things aren't in perspective until I stop and take the time to reflect on my journey. So I feel like this time around, while I am in transition on my journey, I am taking moments of pause to be mindful of where I am, right? Looking back, looking to my left and my right, as well as being very intentional about gathering perspective and how I got to where I am. Passing through often feels like an out-of-body experience for me. I'm not even gonna lie. I often feel like, okay, how did I get from here to there? Okay, am I seeing this? Am I the only person who recognized or noticed X, Y, or Z? So I say it's an out-of-body experience because I feel like it is something oftentimes for me that is divine. And I believe that it is, divinely ordered by the Most High to be able to pass through experience and push past the present and any disappointments or discomfort. Not to say that you're not disappointed or not uncomfortable, right? But there's a certain way that you navigate uncharted territories when you're divinely passing through. That is the point that I am trying to make here. Uncharted territory often builds this fear and heightens your senses, right? Because you just do not know. That level of uncertainty when navigating can be very intimidating. But what I found on my journey as I passed through is that the more bold and more confident that you are, the easier, right? And I say easy lightly, but the easier it becomes to get to where you're going. One of the other things that I found is that the Most High will divinely place people on your path that you have to be mindful of as you pass through. I am so grateful for God moments, in those moments when, certain truths are revealed to me. And, oftentimes they aren't revealed to me the way I would prefer them to be, in a pretty box with a beautiful bow and nice paper that I would undo or take off, in some like really, bougie or she manner, trying to, see what's inside but not mess up the paper. Sometimes that box is so beat up when it comes to you and you're just like, yo, what is this, right? But beyond the packaging, what is revealed in opening, that box, which I will call a gift, right, is often a gift for you. Okay. So I think I said a lot, so I'm going to unpack it a little bit. Being mindful of those who are placed on your path as you pass through is extremely important because I believe the Most High speaks to us in a number of ways, right? Through signs, through other people, and through words, and, any other of the ways that we are spoken to, right? I had a very God moment, and I won't go into too many details because I want to protect the sacredcy of that moment. But someone who I had my eye on had their eye on me. And she pulled me to the side and she shared something with me that really put a current matter into perspective for me. And the word she spoke over me is now going to allow me to engage with someone else on a different level, right? And if I wasn't focused and if I wasn't open to receiving the word that she shared with me, I think that the next stop on my journey, right, would have been a little bit more difficult to navigate. And I'm saying that in a way that is hopeful. Now that I have this information, I feel better equipped to engage with that person, as I journey along, right? And as far as the gift, right, and the packaging, I am somewhere where I am excited to be, And I feel like I've had this out of body experience where I'm passing through, and a lot of the gifts that I have received while where I am have looked abnormal. No one has come up to me and given me anything that I feel like I need right now in this moment. But those gifts have looked like words of affirmations. Those gifts have looked like someone pulling me to the side, or a compliment, or someone being completely honest with me, based on what they've been able to sense as I pass through, right? Another one of those gifts have looked like disappointment. I was waiting with great expectations for a moment to happen that did not. And when that gift came to me, it was something I did not want to open. I did not want to deal with it. I didn't want to look at it. I was just like, it was like the presents you get on Christmas that you already know what it is. And you're like, you know what? I don't even want to open that because I already know. Here it is. Kind of was expecting this, even though I had a great expectation that it would be something different, and it's not, right? But that too was a gift. So I hope that makes things a little bit more plain and clear, because I know that someone who is tuned in may be like, wait, what? So I hope that's a little bit more clear. As I pass through, I have also paid a lot of attention to details. Oh my goodness. When you don't know where you're going and you're journeying, paying attention to detail can honestly help you. It's like navigating in a space that you've never been, whether you're walking or driving, right? And you're looking for landmarks as you journey, so that when it's time for you to turn around, you kind of know where you're going, right? Like, oh, I saw that palm tree. Oh, okay. I remember because on that side, and when I look over here, okay, cool. Let's go, right? Beyond the landmarks, though, those small attention to detail can be very helpful as you pass through. For me, those small, attentions of detail have been attitudes. My attitude, right? How I respond to others, in the ways that I allow myself to be moved or unbothered by certain things that happen, right? But also the ways in which others respond to me, or how I do things. Paying attention to those small details can make a big difference as you journey forward, right? Because there's always someone watching you. And based on how you act will determine oftentimes how they support you, how they choose not to support you. But also, those details can help you get further ahead when you're able to connect certain dots, or, get that direction that you need as you move forward. I am going to be completely honest. As I sit here and I talk about passing through, it is almost a little scary, because I have to question how present I have been. And I think what happens oftentimes is that as we pass through, we're just on the move, trying to get to the next spot, or figuring out things as we journey, and we're not being very present. So I've been here in Vegas, and a number of women have commented on how I just zip back and forth, getting things done. And I'm like, wow, it is so true. And I think one of the reasons why I feel like I'm often having an out-of-body experience is because I'm not being present. I think I'm super focused on what it is that I need to get done, but I am not enjoying, right? I'm not engaged in the joy around me, right? Or I'm not engaging in joyous moments because I'm so focused on the task. I'm so focused on things ending and not enjoying the process of, what that experience may be. So what I have to offer to you is to be present, I said pay attention to detail, be mindful of those around you. But I think it's also important to be present. In order to do any of those things, you do have to be present. A lot of us walk through life in our journeys being very absent-minded, because a lot of our routines or a lot of the ways that we've done things are seamless, right? We can do them because we know how to do it. We spent, the 21 days forming the habit and the 90 days, to master it, or whatever the case may be. Or we've put in our 10,000 hours, 20,000, 30,000, however many thousands of hours doing something. And we don't realize how absent we are, right? Disconnected from our environments and ourselves as we are producing, as we are creating, as we are, voyaging through. As I sit here and I think about passing through, I'm also thinking about packing light and letting go, right? It's kind of hard to pass through freely when you have so much that you have to carry. It becomes difficult to move throughout life when you're carrying additional weight. We always talk about baggage and all these other things, but there are just so many things internally, I believe, and spiritually that hold us down. And there are a number of things I believe that we have to let go as we pass through, because there are moments where we have to have or spend a short period of time somewhere, right? And you can't carry everything you need when you're going somewhere temporarily. Some trips require a carry-on, others require a checked bag, or maybe you need to pack heavy or light or whatever the case may be, right? But that is something that just came to me, and I wanted to be able to share that with you because it is hard to go far on your journey and pack everything you need with you all at one time, right? So just pack light and let go as you pass through. I'll also add, do not be married to a time frame or a timeline. I have spent so much of my life, y'all, so much of my life just thinking about how much time I need to dedicate to certain tasks, relationships, experiences, or whatever the case may be. I am a very committed person and very consistent, and I'm always thinking about how much time I need to dedicate or spend on or with something or someone, right? I'm like, okay, this needs this, okay. And you do all of that, right? Sometimes we don't get to determine how short of a stint or how long of a stint something will be, right? And as it relates to passing through, you always have to be flexible, and adaptable. It's hard to just get somewhere and be like, okay, I'm just going to fit in and we'll see how it works. I don't think that's how passing through works. But when you're flexible and you're adaptable and you understand the calling that is on your life, I believe that, it becomes that much more easy, and you can't be so focused on the duration. You have to be more focused on impact as well as the experience and what it is that is meant for you to receive during that time frame, and not necessarily how long it's going to take. I have been so many places, and I often reflect on how much I was able to enjoy the experience of being where I was, right? And sometimes I feel like some things are a faint memory because of how fast I was moving or the duration of that time. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to slow down. What comes to me is that life is a marathon and not a sprint. And you've probably heard that, iterated in a number of ways. But I want to be intentional about saying that passing through is not about how fast you are going. I think passing through different spaces has to be a very intentional journey, right? Sometimes you can feel like you're transient. Other times you feel like you are, going from place to place with great intention, leaving your mark and doing great things, right? But it's hard to have that experience when you're just rushing from one place to the next. I've had the experience of wanting out of a situation so badly and moving into another one, and then that being just as unsatisfying as the previous experience because I was rushing, because I was desperate. I love when Master P told me never do a deal when you're desperate, right? But I think that you should never do anything when you are desperate because it's just not going to be a good experience, right? So as you pass through spaces, if this is your experience, I encourage you to take your time, right? I've already said, be mindful, pay attention to details, and so much, more. But I want to let you know also to take your time. There is no need for speed as you pass through. Be intentional and pace yourself. Take deep breaths. Get some water. Consult with those around you about, how they can support you on your journey. And there will be those who can't, right? You most definitely will lose people along the way as you pass through because everyone cannot go with you. And that's okay too. It may be more of a difficult process, but it is a necessary one. And I believe that you will get further, not by yourself, right? Necessarily, because we go far when we go together. But some places you just have to go by yourself. Which leads me to the point that passing through can often feel like a lonely journey. I've had to go so many places by myself. And I often question like, oh my gosh, where else? Where else am I going? And honestly, I still cannot answer this question. I can't answer the question to this day. I just cannot. I don't know where I'm going. I know that I'm on assignment and I have a vision for my life. And in knowing that, it helps me understand that I'm all one with the Most High, even at times when I feel extremely lonely. Y'all, I am recording this stop on the tour from a hotel room in Las Vegas, and I'm looking at palm trees and the wind blow through the different palms on the tree. And I'm content. I am content because this moment was designed for me. And I thought that I'll be spending this time a different way, and I'm not. And I cannot be married to that idea. If not, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you, right? So this is a very real, a very timely conversation for me. And I really hope that you have been able to take something away from this brief stop on this tour as I pass through. So I'm thinking about my mic drop moment, and I'm thinking about being on the move, right? And I think because I'm here in Vegas, I want to kind of go like this touristy route, right? So as you pass through, be a tourist, but also be the souvenir. We go so many places and we collect so many things to prove that we were somewhere and we were intentional about finding something that we could take with us to remember the time that we had. But I want to encourage you to be the souvenir. Leave your mark wherever it is that you go, wherever it is that you pass through, so that people remember the impact that you had on them for that short amount of time on your journey. I hope that you have been able to receive what it is that I've shared with you here on this Stop with the Get My Life tour. If you want to stay connected with me, of course, follow the Get My Life tour on social media and connect with me at Lydia T. Blanco on social media as well. Look, I want to stay connected with you, and I look forward to the next stop on the Get My Life tour. It has been real. Remember to renew your enthusiasm, stay connected, and remain encouraged on your journey. And thank you so much for showing up for yourself. It has been real. Peace.